Welcome back to PC-88 Paradise, the series where we take a close look at classic games for the NEC PC-88, the most popular Japanese PC series of the 1980s. I'm Mr. Jakes. Ginga Eiyuu Densetsu, or Legend of the Galactic Heroes, was a series of epic sci-fi novels written in the 80s by Yoshiki Tanaka. To most, though, it's probably better known as an anime series based on those novels, starting in 1988. With new iterations being released actively, even to this day. This is a series I've long been aware of, but had never actually watched. So if you're a fan, please keep in mind this is kind of an outsider's perspective. My impression has always been that it's a space war anime, where rather than action, the focus is on space war politics. And now having finally watched the first movie and most of the first season, I've gotta say that assessment was pretty accurate. Though there is some action. Once in a while. Yay, bloody axe battle! And rather than humans fighting off an alien invasion, Legend of the Galactic Heroes is about humans killing each other in space. There's a forever war raging between the Galactic Empire and the Free Planets Alliance, and the main characters are two brilliant war strategists, Reinhard von Lohengrin for the Empire, and Yang Wenli with the Alliance. Apologies to fans if I mess up any of these pronunciations. Not just the anime, but the games were actually a big part of the series. The Japanese Wikipedia page even has a link at the top to a separate page all about the games. The very first one based on the series was for the Famicom, but that one was by Kemco and completely unrelated to the later games. The main game series started out a year later, published by BothTech, and developed by a company called Microvision. They would continue releasing these all the way up to a 7th game in 2004, with tons of special editions and expansion packs in between, as well as even a few console ports. To tell you the truth, this series has long been the bane of my existence, since searching for the completely unrelated series from Falcom, The Legend of Heroes, often returns at least a few hits for Legend of the Galactic Heroes as well. In both Japanese and English, the titles are almost exactly the same, save for the galactic part. And you want to know a really weird fact? Microvision, the developer of the Legend of the Galactic Heroes games, is the same Microvision that developed the 3 Legend of Heroes Gagarv trilogy games for the PSP for Bandai. So Microvision has made games in both the Legend of the Galactic Heroes and the Legend of Heroes series. Try to wrap your head around that. I'll just stick with the Legend of regular, non-galactic heroes, thank you. Screw Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Who cares about lame space war simulations? Looks boring as hell. But on the other hand, there are at least 7 of these games, so there must be something to them, right? Or maybe it's just fans of the anime who keep buying them. That could be it. But today, thanks to a patron request, we're gonna find out if there's actually any fun to be had here or not. Let's take a look at the very first one of these PC games, which was released for the PC-88 in 1989, when the first OVA series was still being released. This is Ginga Eiyuu Densetsu 1 on the PC-88. This is only the second game I've covered on the channel from BothTech, the other being The Scheme. Now that game had cool packaging. What with that cookie tin that slides out of the box? And what do you know, it's the same design here. Inside there's a survey card and then the manual. It's a thick tome with not only information on how to play, but tons of stuff about the ships and characters of the series. The game comes on 3 floppy disks. To start, we're supposed to just boot disk A. So first, the opening sequence. Here's Reinhard's ship, and text introducing the basic plot of the series. Then our 2 main characters, Reinhard and Yang. And just like the anime, there's the alternate German title. The show has kind of a German theme going on, with German being supposedly the official language of the Empire. Fun fact, apparently the German title is grammatically incorrect. Then the title screen gradually gets drawn, and we get the main menu. From here we need to select the second option, Create userdisk, and we'll be asked to insert disk C in drive 1 and a blank disk in drive 2. Once that's all done, we can start the game, and we'll be asked this time to put disk B in drive 1. We are presented then with a scenario select. There are 5 scenarios to choose from, all of which I believe are based on battles from the series. We'll start with the first one, the Battle of Van Fleet. In case any fans are interested, what it says here is, in Space Year 795, the Empire and Alliance were gathering forces in the Van Fleet star system near the entrance to the Isserlone corridor. The battle begins when Reinhardt's Imperial fleet advances from the planet Kapchalanka. So here's the game screen. I'm not going to explain all the rules of the game since that would be too boring, but here are some basics to start. Your admirals are indicated by numbers, and in this one you're always playing as Reinhardt. The letters are your other ships serving under the admirals, and here the B's stand for battleship. You've also got H for a high-speed bullshit. Whoops, that's high-speed battleship. And of course one of my favorites, the C's, which are cruisers. The cruisers' long-range missiles are one of the most powerful attacks in the game. In the menus you can save and load your game. You get one save slot for each scenario, and you can choose between 3 different BGMs at any time. The BGM is all classical music, arranged poorly for the PC-88's monaural FM chip. For most people, the best known piece here is probably the Adagio Cantabile from Beethoven's Sonata Pathétique. There's also Ravel's Bolero, which was featured heavily in the first Legend of the Galactic Heroes movie. And one fun piece of trivia about this piece is that it was originally going to be used for the opening crawl in the first Zelda, but they couldn't because this piece actually didn't become public domain until 2016. In retrospect, it's probably for the best that they didn't. In this game, I have no idea whether they actually used it under license or just figured they could get away with it. This game could really use a mouse, and while there were mice available for the PC-88, unfortunately you can't use one here. Luckily though, the gamepad support is actually quite good, and I find that preferable to playing with a keyboard. Okay, so anyway, you play Reinhardt and start here at the planet Kapchalanka, which is under Imperial control. When you click on a planet you own, you can first choose to collect taxes. This has to be done manually each turn, and with that money you can use the second option to manufacture additional ships, which then can be joined with an admiral nearby, or left to move independently. They fight better when associated with an admiral. The last option is to call an admiral for you to use in addition to Reinhardt. The admirals are all characters from the series, but sorry, no profile pictures here. You can call one admiral from each planet you own, though there are some planets where you can't. The basic idea is that you want to take out enemy admirals and capture planets. Each scenario map has a number of planets, and for instance this first one starts with one planet owned by each side. The other 2 are neutral planets which can be captured and then used to collect more taxes, summon another admiral, and create more ships. There are 3 ways to win. 1. By taking out all the enemy's admirals. 2. By capturing all enemy planets so they don't have any left to use. Or 3. By capturing every planet on the map. You're awarded a different number of points depending on which way you win, and there's also 0 points here for a draw, which is uncommon. The way the game really wants you to win is by capturing all the planets, which is easier said than done. So the way you control the game is by setting a destination for each admiral. Then when you select execute, they'll move the maximum number of spaces toward that destination for 1 turn, with their associated units following along. They're too dumb to get around terrain, so you'll have to navigate around manually. Wait, terrain? In space? And look how large it is compared to the planets. You may have already noticed that you can't see any enemies on the map, because they won't appear until you get close. You then can change to attack mode and set your destination again. You won't be able to move as far while in attack mode, but when you press execute and the units land in place, they'll be able to attack any units within range. How much damage they do is determined by a lot of factors that I don't fully understand, like what weapon they use, distance, what kind of unit they are, etc. It's probably difficult to tell what's going on, but the Alliance is always on the left side and the Empire on the right, so the player's ships are always on the right in this one. This meter shows the number of ships the Admiral has left on top of the total number of ships associated with all their units. If you don't get it, all you need to know is that these meters give a rough idea of how well one Admiral is doing versus the one they're currently fighting. The most strategic thing you can do is just aim for an Admiral and try to take them out in one turn if you have enough combined firepower. If they survive though, they can effectively heal themselves by combining other units. Most of the Admirals are actually battleships, so what you can do is take remaining units from your other battleships, which are the Bs on the map, and add them to the Admiral's remaining number of battleships, again effectively healing them. If you do manage to take out an Admiral though, the units that were associated with them will become independent units, and much easier to take out. But there's a problem with taking out Admirals. Remember when I said earlier that you can win by taking out all the Admirals, but what the game really wants you to do is to capture all the planets? If you take out an Admiral and it turns out it was the enemy's only one currently on the map, the scenario will end and you'll be awarded only a conditional victory. So then you can't continue on and try to capture the planets. The game punishes you for playing too well. Instead, I often found that I had no choice but to let the Admirals live while I weakened some of their units. I then tried to capture their planets while they continued to pummel me. To capture a planet, you've got to get very close in and then go into capture mode. Mercifully, while in capture mode, you can still continue to attack enemies. And if your Admiral survives to the end of the turn, you'll see an animation of them attempting to capture the planet, and a message indicating whether they were successful or not. Each planet has a certain amount of defense points, and you've got to wear it down to 0 with multiple capture attempts. The number of ships currently associated with the Admiral determines how much defense they'll take away each turn. The difficulty level of this first Legend of the Galactic Heroes game is said to be very high, and Reinhardt starts each scenario at a disadvantage. The enemy just captures planets left and right. Although I had managed to learn the basics of how to play after maybe a solid day's play session, I couldn't come anywhere near beating any of the 5 scenarios. So I guess there's not much more I can do with this game, at least on its own. Enter the Power Up and Scenario Collection. In addition to adding 5 additional scenarios, this add-on changes the game's rules to be more in line with later ports for the MSX2 and X68000.
Power Up!
It also supposedly makes the game a lot easier, with both sides beginning on an even footing, so this is exactly what I need. The aluminum case this time is totally identical to the one used for The Scheme. Oh yeah, I hope you like packaging segments, cause you're getting a second one in this video. Inside we have another survey card and a second thick manual. Then we have not one, but 2 inserts with additional information left out of the manual. Then there's a poster, that's pretty cool. Then there's a sticker sheet, which includes some userdisk stickers, and we can see a userdisk left in here by a previous owner with one of those stickers on it. I wonder where the other Reinhardt sticker went though. The Power Up and Scenario Collection itself consists of 2 discs. In the manual, it says that before we can play, we've got to create another user disk using the original game. Then you leave that new user disk in Drive 2 and boot either of the 2 disks from the Power Up and Scenario Collection. Now, instead of an opening sequence, you get a splash screen showing that you're booting the Power Up and Scenario Collection, and then the menu. Here you can see that we now have not 5, but 10 scenarios to choose from. And what's 0, you ask? It's a campaign mode. Now we're talking. Select any of the scenarios or campaign mode, and now we also get the option to play as either the Empire or the Alliance. Now this is more in line with the series. Legend of the Galactic Heroes gives equal screen time to both the Alliance and the Empire. neither of which are portrayed as being inherently good or evil. In fact, in the first OVA series, the opening is dedicated to the Empire characters and the ending to the Alliance. And while it can certainly be said that making a series all about war inherently glorifies it, the story is a bleak one, focusing almost completely on the tragedies which result from war. But anyway, I'm going to try to play through the campaign as the Empire, simply because I feel like I have a score to settle with that first non-powered up version of the game, where I got my ass kicked as the Empire. So right away the campaign begins with a brand new scenario, the Battle of El Facil, which has a nice graphic of Yan. Starting up, you now have 2 additional BGMs to choose from, bringing the total number to 5. You also have the option to turn off the battle animation in order to speed up the game, and you get 3 campaign game saves. The rules here are a little different from before, and one important difference is that you no longer play as Reinhardt specifically, and instead can now call any admirals of your choice. I switched around and used a number of characters throughout the game, and one major Empire character who's been added is Kiriheisu. Here, instead of simply being able to call one admiral from each planet, you can call as many as you like, but it costs money instead. Another difference is that instead of collecting tax manually from each planet each turn, it happens automatically, and you get to choose the tax rate for each planet. Set it too low and you won't have enough money, but set it too high and there's a chance of a rebellion breaking out each turn. During a rebellion, you won't collect taxes and you can't create any units. The only way to quell a rebellion is by lowering the tax rate and hoping it ends in the next turn. But aside from all those improvements to the rules, the basic idea is the same. You have to either take out all the enemy admirals or take the planets, preferably the latter. Again, the game is supposed to be a lot easier with the power-up and scenario collection, and sure enough, I actually beat the first campaign scenario on my first try. Though it was by defeating all the admirals, not taking the planets. So even when you win, the game is basically like, yeah, you won, but still you. And the way you win, it says, will have lasting repercussions for the rest of the campaign. It seems to affect which planets you'll start with in the later scenarios and their stats. Admirals on both sides who defeated the most enemies will level up and become stronger, while the ones who died become unusable for the remainder of the campaign. One site I was using for advice even said to be careful not to kill too many admirals, since killing the entire enemy roster will end the campaign early, and you won't be able to see the ending. So again, the game punishes you for playing too well. I gradually made my way through the campaign. You actually don't have to win to move on to the next scenario, but losing will have very bad consequences, of course. So I made sure to at least win each scenario, even if in some of them I could only do it by killing the admirals. Most stages took quite a few tries, while in a few I actually dominated and had the Alliance on the ropes. By this time I was surprised that not only had I actually learned how to play this boring space war simulation, but I was super serious about winning. Hey, this might not turn out to be one of those rare videos where I can't finish the game, after all. The 10th and final scenario had other plans for me, though. It was the same as the last scenario in the original, non-powered-up version of the game. The battle for the Empire to take back Iserlohn Fortress. Now, in the series, this space fortress is kind of a big deal. It has super powerful weapons and is located along one of the most valuable space routes. It starts out belonging to the Empire, and apparently gets fought over a number of times in the series. When I first saw this scenario, I thought it was going to be easy. There's only one planet for each side, which here are actually fortresses. Iserlohn on the Alliance side, and Geiersberg on the Empire side. So all you have to do to win is just take one planet, or fortress. The thing about only having one planet on each side, it turns out, is that the enemy will use all its resources to defend it. And to make things even more impossible, each fortress has super high defense, so they are going to have to sit on top of it and make tons of capture attempts before it goes down. All while the enemy is using that same fortress to create brand new units on top of you every turn. I could never capture it before my stream of new units coming from my fortress eventually couldn't keep pace with casualties. So then I tried winning the easy way by taking out the admirals, but when you do that, you just get a quick message saying that's the end of the campaign mode, and it goes back to the title screen. That site said that there was an ending. I suppose you need to actually take the enemy fortress in order to see it? I couldn't find any footage of the ending of this game on the web, so in order to quickly find out if there really was an ending or not, I tried using somebody else's much better save data from the last stage that I found online. Even this wasn't easy, but I was able to eventually capture the fortress, which was the opposite one since I was on the Alliance side here, and I confirmed that indeed there was an ending. But to finish the game for real using my own game save took me another 2 days of playtime. Sometimes if you start doing too well, the enemy will actually retreat and then you won't be able to see the ending again. I'm telling you, this game punishes you for doing too well. But here's the footage from another time when things were looking pretty good and I started recording. This time I had managed to lure the enemy's only remaining admiral down toward my fortress using a second admiral of mine, who by this time was gone. I was a little worried that he would stay down there and take out my fortress before I could take out his, but instead he stupidly started slowly heading up to defend his fortress, and before he could make it there, the fortress was finally mine. Ha ha ha, I did it! F you, f you, f you, f you, f you! Excuse me, that was a reenactment of my reaction to winning. And so this time I could enjoy the ending for real. It's the same regardless of which side you win as, and lists the number of each type of ship lost by each side, driving home the futility of war. And on the final screen it says, "And so the history of Galactic Heroes goes on until the day of the final battle. The day when the entire galaxy becomes involved in the conflict draws near." And here's one thing most players probably missed. When it returns to the title screen after the ending, you can select the campaign mode on the same side again, and it will say, "Welcome to high-level campaign mode." Okay, this is great for players who are better at the game than I am, but I think I'll pass. I also hope you'll forgive me for not playing through the whole campaign again as the Alliance side. That would be another great way to squeeze some more playtime out of this game, though. And while we're at it, here's another secret. When playing the game, press the stop button on the keyboard. You'll see a flash, and then in the options menu there'll be an auto mode available. You can then select the number of turns you want the computer to play for you. The PC-98 version is almost exactly the same as the PC-88 version, but with very rudimentary mouse support added. It basically just sends button presses in the direction you move the mouse, which is borderline unusable, though I do like how fast the scrolling is in this one. The MSX2 version wasn't released until after the Power-Up and Scenario Collection was already out for the PC-88 and 98, and so this one has the new powered-up rules already from the get-go. Though of course you'll still need the Power-Up and Scenario Collection for the MSX2 if you want the additional scenarios and campaign mode. There's no mouse support, and the music sounds really terrible in this version. It's especially annoying how the music shuts off completely during the unit movement and battle animation. And finally, there was the X68000 version, which has all the improvements of the MSX2 version, plus finally decent mouse support. Unfortunately, I didn't have an X68000 mouse handy when I recorded this footage though. The music does have stereo FM sound, but still doesn't sound that much better than the other versions. There is LA MIDI support if you want it to sound a lot better though, and the battle sound effects are much improved using ADPCM. The opening has been given a total overhaul and uses lots of parallax. And just in case anyone says that I missed the ports to the Saturn and PlayStation, no I didn't. Those are actually a different game, based mostly on the third PC-98 game. Regular viewers will know that boring strategy games like Legend of the Galactic Heroes are the kind of games I usually avoid. And of all the videos I've set out to make so far, this is the one where I had the least confidence I would actually be able to produce a video. And even if I could, I didn't think I would be able to finish the game. There's something very satisfying, though, about managing to do something you never thought you could. It was a bigger deal for me than just making it through another RPG. The other space strategy game you might recall me covering is Macross Remember Me, and I would say that one was easier to learn, but probably gave me more trouble getting through it, save for maybe the last stage in Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Damn, that stage isn't fair. I can't exactly recommend the game. For most people today, I doubt there's much reason to try out the first game in the series, and the anime isn't exactly an easy watch either. All I can say is that I'm glad I did it, and hopefully people watching got the basic idea about what these games and anime are all about. It's a dry series with dry games based on it. Definitely not for everyone, but both are not without their charm. This is Mr. Jakes, thanking you for coming with me on this episode of PC-88 Paradise. This video was a request from my patron, Adam Lowry. I'm really glad that he got me to finally play and watch this series. Thanks to all the other patrons scrolling by, and thanks to all of you for watching.